We have a story here that's being underreported in the U.S. So this is from The Independent, which is a UK publication. They say, Donald Trump blocks ExxonMobil from drilling for oil in Russia. The petroleum giant had requested permission to bypass U.S. sanctions. Okay, so let me give you some of the backstory on this here. You had Vladimir Putin go into Crimea and basically say, mine. He just jacked part of Ukraine and said, this is mine. Now, in response to that, Obama said, whoa there, big guy. Not cool. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to slap some sanctions on you to disincentivize you from doing stuff like that again and going into other post-Soviet states and effectively taking them back. Here's some sanctions on you. Now, the backstory is, of course, a little more complicated because NATO had promised Russia, when Russia became Russia, the former Soviet Union, when it was becoming Russia, they promised them, look, we're not going to expand past where we are right now. So don't worry about it. We're not going to move east another inch. We're not going to move towards your border another inch. We have this peace, and we're going to keep it like this. Well, over the years, NATO said, yeah, did we promise that? Now we disagree with ourselves, and we're going to move closer to your border. So NATO's been inching closer and closer to the Russian border, which they view as an act of aggression. You know, it's like if Russia controlled South America, and then they promise, it's cool, don't worry, we're never going to come closer to you. And then they just gradually start taking more and more parts of Mexico until they're right at the U.S. border. Then we'd go, whoa, this is a provocation, this is an offensive act, we're under attack here, and we need to do something in response. So in Putin's mind, he's acting defensively when he ends up taking Crimea, because what happened there was a Western government took over effectively and wanted to be more aligned with the West, and Ukraine, of course, was an important client state of Russia, so he basically said, yeah, I'm not going to let that stand because they feel like the West is basically taking over all the way to their border and they feel threatened, so he just jacked part of Crimea. So it's a more complicated backstory. Let's get that all out there. There are two sides to that story, legitimately and genuinely. I honestly think the truth is somewhere in the middle, and on some points the West is right, and on some points Putin is right, but we don't need to get into that in any more specifics. Bottom line is, one of the things that was scrapped in President Obama's sanctions over Crimea was a deal that ExxonMobil had effectively with the Russian government it was a multi-billion-dollar oil and gas deal. Obama said, yeah, that's no longer going through because you took Crimea, so now you're going to feel the pain. There are going to be economic sanctions over what you did. So with all the talk after the election of Donald Trump being Putin's puppet, basically the linchpin, the main argument of even the smarter people in the, oh my God, Trump is doing Putin's bidding crowd, their main argument was, just watch. The ExxonMobil deal is going to be revived. He picked fucking Rex Tillerson to be Secretary of State, the former CEO of ExxonMobil. You don't think they're going to do a waiver for that and then they're going to do the deal? Basically, allowing Putin to make money and ExxonMobil to make money, even though Putin just jacked Crimea. So in other words, the concern is there's going to be this corrupt deal, and then you're putting politics aside for personal financial gain, ExxonMobil is, and Vladimir Putin is, of course. And then what you're doing is you're incentivizing Putin, oh, go ahead, take other post-Soviet states. So that was the concern among even the smarter crowd who think, oh my God, Trump is Putin's puppet. There are other stupid people in that crowd who would argue, like, we should have war with Russia because they hacked the election. Hack the election is a totally misleading phrase because they didn't hack into voting machines and flip the votes, which that phrase implies. The worst claim against them is they took the DNC emails and gave them to WikiLeaks, who then released them. DNC emails that we should have seen anyway because it proved cheating and corruption and collusion. So, transparency in government. But WikiLeaks swears up and down it wasn't even Russia. So there's who knows whether or not they actually did that. But some people say, we should go to war over that. Whoa, you guys are fucking crazy. But the smarter crowd that likes to go Russia, Russia, Russia says, no, it's just financial corruption, and you'll see when they resurrect that deal. Well, that didn't happen. So let me give you some more here. They say in The Independent, Donald Trump's administration has refused to allow U.S. oil company ExxonMobil to drill for oil in Russia. U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, by the way, a Goldman Sachs jackoff, said the government would not be allowing the oil giant to bypass sanctions on Russia that forbid U.S. firms from working with their Russian counterparts. The Treasury Department will not be issuing waivers to U.S. companies, including ExxonMobil, authorizing drilling prohibited by current Russian sanctions, Mr. Mnuchin said in a statement, adding that he had consulted Mr. Trump before making the decision. Exxon had applied for an exemption from the sanctions in order to allow it to continue a joint venture with PAO Rosneft, a huge Russian state oil company. Okay, so now I'm going to make this as plain as possible. Donald Trump, his administration, bombed one of Russia's top allies, the Assad government in Syria. People say, oh, well, he warned him in advance. There's no amount of warning in advance that's going to make Vladimir Putin okay with you doing that. It's one of his top allies. He has deep business connections with the Syrian government. He does not want that Syrian government to fall. So for the U.S. to bomb their top ally, Russia's top ally, that's not exactly a sign that they're in bed together. That's a sign of the opposite, that whoa, pump your brakes. Don't be too standoffish. Don't escalate too much. We don't want to end up in World War III over Syria. What if you accidentally kill Russian soldiers? What then? What happens then? So he bombs Russia's top ally, one of their top allies. Then they reject a waiver for the Exxon deal, which was the linchpin of the corruption argument. Like, oh, they're so corrupt, they're going to resurrect that ExxonMobil deal. But they didn't resurrect it. They slapped it down. So two actions, they're explicitly the opposite of what the corporate Democrats have been telling us is going to happen. Where are the apologies? Where are the, you know what, maybe we went down the wrong path here with the Russia nonsense. They don't have anything to say. In fact, if anything, we've seen the opposite. I've seen many of these same corporate Democrats, the hallmark of a conspiracy theory is when there's evidence disproving it, you use it as further evidence that it's true. So they did when they bombed Syria. They said, oh yeah, well they told them in advance and it was all planned beforehand, and what happened is Vladimir Putin staged the chemical attack and then allowed Trump to come in and bomb his ally to make it look like the U.S. and Russia aren't on good terms. But they're on good terms, and it's all planned and structured, and so obviously Trump needs to be even more hawkish to prove that he's not in bed with Russia. So basically they're rooting for more hawkishness, more war, further escalation, to somehow prove that Trump isn't a puppet of the Russian government. But then whenever he were to be more hawkish, number one, that'd be a horrible thing. Number two, they just say that's not enough. You got to be more hawkish, and you got to be more anti-Putin and anti-Russia. Or else we're still going to say you're a puppet. This too. You know, they're making arguments like, sure, he scrapped the deal, but he only scrapped the deal because by hurting Russia, he's actually helping Russia because later on they're going to resurrect it when nobody's looking or something. Yeah. Stop. You guys look like idiots because you are idiots. You've been chasing your fucking tail with this Russia argument because you haven't come to terms with Hillary Clinton's loss. And you wanted to blame it on somebody and something. Oh, James Comey, Jill Stein, Gary Johnson, Bernie Bros, Russia. You know, hey, if only they hadn't, hacked the election by allegedly releasing emails that were true, that showed how corrupt Hillary and the DNC were and how they cheated and rigged it against Bernie Sanders. If only they were just allowed to hide how much they rigged it and how corrupt they are, and meddling Russia didn't get involved, then everything would be great. Look at how sad these guys are, man. I mean, it is so sad. So the argument has fallen apart. You simply can't, there's no coherent argument anymore that, yeah, they're, puppets of Vladimir Putin. That's just not true. That has been disproven by this. The main argument they made, and I told you guys, what would the one thing be that could happen where my eyebrows would raise and I would say, yes, there appears to have been some sort of connection between Trump and Russia that is not okay. What's the one thing I said that would change my mind on that? If they did a waiver for this deal. If they did a waiver for this deal, my segment would be the exact opposite right now. I would be out here saying, you know what? Everybody was right when they were arguing that, hey man, there was some sort of connection between Russia and the Trump administration that is not okay. you would have been right. If he did this waiver and allowed them to go through with this multi-billion-dollar oil deal, even knowing that Vladimir Putin jacked Crimea, and this was basically punishment for him to do that and a disincentive for him to take any more post-Soviet states. I mean, they would have been right. You would have been right, because then I would have said, oh yeah, they're putting ExxonMobil's profits above the country and correct policy, and they're putting Vladimir Putin's well-being above what's good for the world and what's good for the country. You want to disincentivize him from just jacking post-Soviet states. So that would have been a case of, oh, you picked the guy from ExxonMobil for Secretary of State, and now he's helping ExxonMobil over the correct policy. So yes, then that would have been like, oh, they definitely made phone calls and said, don't worry about it, dog. We got you. We're going to roll back those sanctions, and you do whatever you want in the region. Then I would have said, you know what? I was wrong. I came out too strongly against the Russia-Trump connection crowd. But it turns out I was right. And Glenn Greenwald and Jordan Chariton and Jimmy Dore, we were right. Michael Tracy, we were right. We were right. This proves it. We were right. And they still won't come out and say, you know what? Maybe we should focus on things that are more important. Maybe we should focus on Medicare for all. Maybe we should focus on free college. Maybe we should focus on making the minimum wage a living wage. Maybe we should focus on ending all the wars. This is what the Democrats should be focusing on, but no, they've been chasing their tail. Russia, 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 Russia. And by the way, so this is where idiots will say, well, Kyle's, defending Trump here. He's a fucking right-winger now. He's helping the Republicans or something. Am I not that, I keep giving you the fucking pathway to attack Trump in ways that'll stick, and you're not listening. So, for example, if you're so concerned about, oh my God, Trump made these corrupt deals with foreign governments, how about this? The fact that he registered 8 new businesses in Saudi Arabia during the campaign, and then lo and behold, now that he's in office, he just announced the other day, oh, we're going to help Saudi Arabia more in bombing the pants off of Yemen and slaughtering civilians and using cluster bombs, which are illegal, and chemical weapons, which are illegal in the process. We're going to allow them to keep blockading the country to the point where 17 million people are going hungry. So you have a guy who registers 8 new businesses in Saudi Arabia, then allows them to get away with fundamental war crimes and looks in the other direction, and helps them because he arms them more. There's your scandal. There's your scandal of a corrupt president in bed with a terror state foreign government. And he's doing their bidding, and he's letting them get away with whatever they want to get away with because he has personal financial ties to them. There's your scandal. Oh my God, Trump registered 8 new businesses in Saudi Arabia and is helping them in committing war crimes and killing people and starving people in Yemen. There's your fucking scandal. Not a single one of them say it. Not a single fucking one of them. They can't even tell you about this story. You want more? How about the fact that Trump, 15 different countries? 15 different countries. Donald Trump outsources his jobs to. As he's America first, yeah, we're going to not outsource any jobs. You outsourced your own jobs, you fucking charlatan, you cretin. What are you going to lecture all the other corporations? You can't even bring your own jobs back here? You're not allowed to send jobs. Only I'm allowed to send jobs overseas. What the fuck is that? You got shit made in South Korea and Turkey and elsewhere. So you're a fraud. You're a fucking fraud. You're a con artist. Why are the Democrats not talking about you outsourced all of your own fucking jobs? There's a scandal. You're going to do the bidding of these countries that you have business in. He outsources jobs to Turkey, and he called Erdogan after Erdogan basically became a dictator in the referendum recently and congratulated him. Democrats, there's your scandal. Oh my God. Donald Trump has jobs that in Turkey, he outsourced U.S. jobs to Turkey, and then because he cares about his personal business ties with Turkey, he congratulates their new supreme leader, emperor, dictator. There's your fucking scandal, and it's real, but you can't help yourself. Russia, 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 which is why you're going to continue to lose, and which is why today, 28% of the American people say the Democrats are in touch with the common man. 28%. For the Republicans, it's 32%. The Republicans are more in touch with the common man than the Democrats are. 38% say Trump is more in touch with the common man. Because you've been chasing your fucking tail with this Russia garbage, and it's been proven wrong, and you're still sticking to your guns. We got to fix this party, man. JusticeDemocrats.com. We got to get people in there who care about the real issues, and we'll talk about the real issues, and we'll try to fix the real issues. Somebody who will get money out of politics, people who will get Medicare for all, end the wars. But no, now we have a party full of corporate Democrats who can't shut the fuck up about Russia, even though it's been proven there is nothing there. This is now officially Democrat Benghazi.